All right, chapter two. What is chapter two all about?
Tourism model.
Okay, so the tourism industry. Was there anything in chapter two that you thought was surprising? Maybe something you didn't realize was part of tourism, but it actually is, or a concept that you found interesting? Yes, Jen. Yeah. Yep, exactly. So the U.S. is part of that United Nations, the World Tourism Organization. Yeah, that's something that the U.S. is part of. So as we try to develop those relationships with the other countries to increase international travel. Yes, but they're not members. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're surprised that they're not members. Okay. Does it say why they aren't members? Okay. Something that I should look into because I didn't realize that. Awesome. Okay. What else? Did you have something, John Paul, right? A hotel made of ice. That's pretty interesting.
Sort of visualize.
Yeah. Let's see if we can find the ice hotel. I don't know how I feel about that. It's interesting. I mean, that's what I feel like. That's what I went. That's how I go camping. But I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money to live in a hotel like that and be bundled up in my 0 degree sleeping bag. I don't know about that. I mean, I've been to like an ice bar. That's interesting. We had to put a parka on to go enjoy a cocktail. Those are interesting. I don't know if I'd like to spend a whole lot of time. Ice is coming back to the JW Marriott. So, has anybody ever been to Ice or never been to Ice or never heard of Ice? So, last year's Ice theme was How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And they announced the theme for this year. I can't remember what it is now. But essentially, the entire place is 100% ice. Um, and so when you go, you get like a big parka, and you go in, and they like it's colors, like they've dyed the ice. They'll probably start in I think October, end of this month, first of next month. They'll actually start going in there. They bring in a team of like 50 to 60 ice sculptures, and they live at the resort. And all they do all day long is just build these ice sculptures, and they like recreate this winter wonderland. um, oh, maybe it's Frosty the Snowman. Yep, it'll be Frosty the Snowman this year. So that's 100% ice. Everything is 100% ice. It's pretty cool. Clear ice, different colors. That's all 100% made out of ice. All right, what else? What's that? Hotel on top of trees. Yeah, I think there's one in the hill country. They have like tree houses somewhere in the hill country nearby. Wimberley, I think, Wimberley area. Um, yeah, hotels can kind of be really unique. They can be pretty standard and traditional, or they can be fairly unique. Um, all right, anything else?
How they give the example of more
Yeah. So we have that what's called the multiplier effect. As we spend money, as we bring in money for tourism, then that money kind of trickles down or kind of is then like, someone goes out to eat, that money is then used by the restaurant to buy more ingredients. So that's supporting local farmers or a local purveyor. But then also that goes to help pay someone's paycheck, which then they can go put back into the economy. My morning class, we talked about a major event that happened in San Antonio back in March and April. What was it? Of this year, yep. What's that? T-Pain was here. Pitbull was here for it. The Final Four, the men's NCAA men's Final Four. In those 4 days, do y'all know what the economic impact for the city of San Antonio was in those 4 days? Anybody want to guess? How much? It's in the millions. You want to throw out a number? Sorry? 300? Very close. $360 million in 4 days. $360 million in 4 days. Right? And so that's probably going to be the last men's Final Four. We'll have the women in 27. They'll come back in 27. But the men's Final Four is probably the last one we'll have. Anybody know why? Because our Alamo Dome is too old. It's outdated. It's not big enough. The facility is not as new as other cities that have major sporting arenas. In order to accommodate for the men's Final Four in San Antonio, they have to build a stadium of 16,000 seats inside the Alamo Dome. So they raise the floor up the basketball court up 3 feet off the ground. And then they basically bring in bleachers. Sorry, they build in and bring in bleachers to the same capacity as the Frost Bank Center. And they build that around the court in the Alamo Dome, and that's how they're able to accommodate. Yes. So yeah, there's a lot of controversy right now. It used to be called Project Marvel. Now we are calling it the Sports and Entertainment District. And part of that package is an enhancement to the Alamo Dome that allows us to host larger things like the Final Four in the future. Or think about things like Taylor Swift, right? Large concerts like that, the Alamo Dome's not big enough. And so if we can accommodate and we can renovate that dome to allow us to have larger events like that, that would be great. And that part of that also is included in expanding our convention center to make sure that we can have larger events. So yeah, that multiplier effect is really important when it comes to that. It's also really important to be educated on those types of topics that affect the hospitality industry. I know that Project Marvel or the Sports and Entertainment District, there's a lot of controversy as far as like how that project's going to be funded. And there's certain aspects of that project that can only be funded by a certain way. So for example, the convention center, the expansion of that is actually funded by our visitors. So anytime someone stays in a hotel, a portion of those taxes come back to San Antonio, to the city, and they're able to use that money to then enhance the Alamo Dome and the convention center. Hold on one second. I got your name. Hold on. I'm going to remember it. Arliss. Yes. Okay, good. What's up? Yeah. Yeah. Not anymore. Wow. That's not that. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that as long as you're gambling, typically your drinks and stuff just keep flowing, right? Because they want you to keep gambling. They don't want you to get up to go to the bar. They want you to sit at that machine and keep going. So that's interesting. Yeah. You know what's interesting? I read an article um, about Formula One, in Vegas and how it really wasn't as well received as people thought it was going to be, and how venues that were right there on the road were charging an exorbitant amount of money for tickets, and then nobody was buying them, so they were basically like giving them away in order to get people in there during the event itself. So, yeah. What's another big attraction in Vegas right now? The Sphere. Yeah, the Sphere is another huge attraction in Vegas. So that would be really interesting to see that all lit up. All right. Anything else about tourism from the chapter that you thought was interesting? All right, let's talk about tourism as a whole. Okay, we're going to build a little tourism model here. What is one aspect of tourism? You mentioned one. Lodging. So where people are going to stay. Okay. What are some examples of lodging? We said one, hotels, Airbnb. We're also, I'm going to put that as STR. Does anybody know what STR stands for? It stands for short-term rentals. Let me see if I can make this as big as possible. Short-term rentals, STRs. So that's Airbnb, VRBO, all those different types. Okay. What else? What's that? Oh, so I'm going to put hotels and B&Bs. So B&B is like a bed and breakfast. Airbnb is kind of like a play on the bed and breakfast. Does anybody know how Airbnb got started? It was a cheaper alternative to staying in a hotel. And oftentimes when Airbnb started, it's like, hey, I'm an empty nester. I've got 3 empty rooms in my house. I'm going to go ahead and rent out one room to some stranger to come in and stay in my room, and I'm going to charge them like 35, 40 bucks for the night. Right? And then people started doing that. And then all of a sudden, people started buying whole houses. So you can rent the whole house. And what are some issues with short-term rentals and buying a whole house? Say that one time. It's more expensive. Yep. The maintenance of the place. Yep. What else? What do you mean it's not guaranteed? Say it one more time. Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's not gonna be like a hotel where potentially there's always at least somebody hopefully in the hotel. Yeah, it's not guaranteed revenue. Think about it from a neighborhood perspective. What's an issue of having short-term rentals in your neighborhood? Every single day, every night, potentially there's different people living in that house, right? And so a lot of homeowners associations are basically what's what I'm looking for. They are not allowing, but there's another what I was going to say. They're not allowing short-term rentals. One of the biggest issues with short-term rentals from the hotel's perspective is that when somebody stays at a hotel in San Antonio, they pay 16.75% tax. But in the short-term rentals, they weren't paying that tax. And the hotels were saying, hey, wait a minute, they're taking reservations from us. They're basically the same as us, so they should also be paying that tax. And so now in San Antonio, if you have a registered short-term rental, you also have to pay that hotel occupancy tax. Okay, what else? Other types of lodging. What's that? Interstate. Oh, like a motel? Okay, yeah. I'll put them up here with those. They're all kind of right along the same lines. What else? Resorts, good. Oh yeah, absolutely. So condos or what's the word I'm looking for? Where you have a timeshare. Yep, we got resorts. Excellent. Cool. So vacation homeowners, that's the timeshare. Yep. where you actually say, okay, I'm gonna buy into this, and I'm gonna have this condo for this week on the beach, and it's my week, and I'm gonna pay for it, right? So that's that vacation home share or timeshare. Yeah. And let's do one more. More rustic. Think more rustic. Okay. Yep. Hostels. And I'm gonna say campgrounds, RV grounds, RV parks. Yep. I'll post it on Canvas. Yeah. Okay. Besides lodging, what's next? Food and beverage. Good. What kind of food and beverage are we looking at? Good. Restaurants and bars. Good. Okay, so attractions is another one, another subcategory. What other kind of food and beverage besides just restaurant and bars? What other ways we go out to eat? Okay. What street food? Like taco trucks, the hot dog stand on the sidewalk, fast food. Okay, good. Part of the restaurants. Anything else? Yep, somewhere. What's that? Vending machines. Good. Okay. So we may have those like at our hotels or at the attractions. Good. How many of y'all have heard of Michelin stars? How many of you have not heard of Michelin stars? Okay. When you hear the word Michelin, what do you think about? Tires, fast cars. Okay. So with Michelin, it's the same company, Michelin tires and Michelin stars are awarded Michelin stars, one, two, and three stars. Okay. Essentially, what Michelin stars, who knows what Michelin stars are and how they came about? Hold on one second. I remember your name. What's the first letter? A? It's not Aaron. No. Okay, remind me. Abraham. Okay, cool. Abraham, go ahead.
To people who want to travel more. So what they did was they put restaurants, entertainment into categories of stars. So one star is it's travel, but not really to stay. Two, you stay, you visit. Three is like you make a whole trip around it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's basically as a way to get people to travel more, right? And it's like if you have a three-star Michelin, it is worth the drive. It's worth the trip to go out and visit, right? Now, because we have the airfare, obviously people, can travel. But yeah, the more stars, the higher stars, the more of the experience it is. And they are traditionally luxury or a fine dining, haute cuisine um, experiences. So I'm going to put that in here. Cool. Attractions. What kind of attractions do we have? Theme parks. Good. What else? Okay, so I'm going to say events and concerts. So we may travel for a specific reason. So San Antonio, what's February is rodeo month. What is March? Spring break. April is fiesta, right? And then we move into the summertime. So different events and concerts that are happening. Okay, so conventions are not necessarily like attractions, but they're a reason why people travel. So let's try to do a last category, why people travel. Cool. Let's go back to attractions. What other kind of attractions? I heard zoos. Anything else? Theme parks we got, yep. Museums. Oh, I heard that national parks. I love that. I'm gonna do national and state parks. Okay. Other kind of attractions? The culture. Good. All right. Oops. Why people travel. There we go. Okay, why people travel besides conventions? Why might people travel? Oh, okay, I like that. Celebrations. Okay, visit family and friends. Yep, for leisure, business. I'm gonna put that up with conventions. Okay, funerals, celebration of life, maybe. Good. What's that? Adventures. Okay. Weddings. Okay. Put that maybe up in the celebrations area. Rest, leisure, rest and relaxation. Good. Culture. Again. Any other reasons why people travel? Okay. So birthdays. Excellent. Part of those celebrations. For work. Okay. For conventions and business. Excellent. Anybody else? Why do you travel? Okay. For maybe the scenery. I like that. Okay, so I'll put food and culture together since we're getting a little small out there. Cool. How many of you prior to coming to class or prior to reading this chapter thought all of this was related to tourism? There's a lot that goes into tourism. Okay, I will post a picture of that. I'll post this on Canvas. I'm going to go ahead and save this before I forget and hit don't save. Okay, so how people travel. Airlines. Yeah, bus. Yeah, cruises, train. Good. All these different ways that people will travel. And what are some different factors that determine how people travel? Gas prices is good. Yeah, every summer I usually take about a 1 to 2 week road trip. And a few years ago, when gas was in San Antonio, like almost $5 a gallon, I was like, do I want to drive 1,000 miles? It's going to cost me this amount of money. And that was the one summer since 2008 that I have not taken a road trip because gas prices were just too high. Okay, what else? Time. If I have the time, I love to drive. But if I need to, if the time is there, I have to fly, right? Um, when it comes to airlines, okay, we have smaller markets or smaller areas that feed into larger markets. And this is what's called the hub and spoke system. How many of y'all knew this is how airline travel kind of worked a little bit? How many had no idea this is how airline travel worked? Yeah. These smaller towns like Lubbock, I can't go from Lubbock to New York City. There's just not enough people in Lubbock that are going to New York City on a regular basis. But if I can get the couple people from Wichita Falls, a couple people from Lubbock, a couple people from Bryan College Station, get them to Dallas, and then there's also people from, I don't know, smaller areas like Oklahoma City or smaller towns like Tulsa. If I can get them all to Dallas and I get all them on the same plane to go to New York City, it's a lot more cost effective, right? And so we have these hubs and spokes. So all the smaller areas are the spokes, think of like a bicycle wheel, and then all the hubs are in the middle. So Dallas, we have a hub for Southwest Airlines at Love Field. We also have Denver is a hub, I think, for Delta. I want to say United or American is also a hub for DFW in Houston. Yep. So all these airlines, oftentimes they'll take all those people that are looking from smaller locations. Let's get them to a hub and then get them out. So this is why when I'm a couple weeks from now, when I'm flying home from the Philippines, I leave the Philippines, I fly to LA, and then from LA, I have to fly to Atlanta, because that's a Delta hub, and then fly from Atlanta back to San Antonio. Like if they could just open the door and let me jump out with the parachute, it would save so much time. but instead I have to fly and then come back. So sometimes the flights don't really make all that much sense. At one point in my life, I used to think it was fun to fly, and like I would pick two connections. I love to go visit airports and like hang out in the airport. Not so much anymore. I like it takes a little bit too much time, too much energy. um, but that's what's that? Yeah, too many restrictions. Although you no longer have to take your shoes off and take your belt off. You can walk right through security, which I think is really interesting. That just happened this summer. All right, we mentioned trains. So let's learn about the fastest train. I want you to write a number on your paper. How many miles per hour do you think the fastest train in the world right now goes? Just write it on a piece of paper and see how much that is. How many miles per hour does the fastest train in the world go? It's not America, no. Well, we can convert kilometers per hour to miles per hour. That's what we have. That's what we have Google for. That's why we have calculators that we can convert that. Okay, so I want you to write it down and see how close you are. But let's talk before we watch the video. Let's talk about train travel. How many of you traveled by train before? Okay, where did you travel by train? In Mexico. Okay, Xavier. To New York. Okay, awesome. Oh, so you're using the tram to get from terminal to terminal. Okay, cool. Okay, so in Europe, cool. In Europe as well. Germany to France. Okay, awesome. I took the train once from San Antonio to Austin. I fell asleep during the whole time. It was the Amtrak. You can actually take the Amtrak from San Antonio to Chicago. They have a daily departure to Chicago from San Antonio Amtrak station. My dad has brought the train back to San Antonio from the Dallas Fort Worth area after going to see a baseball game. In America, our train system is not as advanced as Europe and Asia. A lot of it has to do with regulations, but a lot of it also has to do with the fact that in America, we're just used to driving cars. We're just used to flying and driving. If you go up to the New England area, people travel by train a lot more. I have, you can take the train from Boston or DC up to New York City. So you can travel by train a lot more up in the New England area. There's been the conversation about having a high-speed rail from San Antonio that connects San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, and Austin. One of the major problems with that, though, is that with a high-speed train, you have to be going in a pretty straight distance for a long period of time. And we don't really have space for people to go, like for tracks just to go in a straight line. A lot of our roads curve and things like that. The other thing too is if you are going to curve, it's got to be like a really wide curve in order to accommodate for the speed. And a lot of that is just the land. There's just not land available for that. There's a lot of private property that would have to go through. And so that's some of the reasons why I've heard that the high speed rail is really kind of just not really feasible. But let's look at the top 10. We're going to look at number 10 and we're going to look at number 1, just for the interest of time.
In San Antonio, we embrace the culture and spirit that makes us unique. When we rodeo...
Decades ago, European and Asian countries competed to build the fastest railway network. It was first introduced in Japan, with the first Shinkansen train. A new era in transportation began in 1964, and then the new revolutionary means of transport appeared in Europe. The current fastest train we have ever built is the Shinkansen L0 series, which was able to reach an absolute speed of 603 kilometers per hour, but it will be years before we can see it in active operation. In 2024, several new train models and prototypes were introduced, and it looks like high-speed rail services will be transformed in the next few years. In today's video, we're going to look at the 10 fastest operational high-speed trains in the world, in the year of 2025. Number 10. Fuengirosa 1000. The Fuengirosa 1000 is a high-speed train operated by Trenitalia in Orio, Spain, and developed jointly by Alstom and Hitachi. It began its design in 2008 and entered service in Italy in 2015. It was designed with particular attention to energy efficiency, and thanks to new technological developments and energy-saving systems, the train reduces emissions and contributes to the sustainability of Italian rail transport. It currently operates on domestic routes in Italy and Spain, and has the option of operating international routes, such as between Milan and Paris. The trains are comfortable and well designed on the inside, with restaurants and comfortable seats. The train was designed to operate at a maximum speed of 360 kilometers per hour, but is only operated at 300 kilometers per hour on Spanish and Italian routes.
Hello, I'm five-time Olympic gold medalist Amy Poehler. I've been asked to talk to you about the new
50. Unveiled in late 2024 and expected to enter service in 2025, China shocked the world in late December last year with the announcement of the CRH450, the world's fastest train model. The CR450 is 10% lighter, has 22% less drag, consumes 20% less energy and has 20% better braking performance compared to the CRH400AF. After several tests in 2024, during which it reached a speed of 453 kilometers per hour. It is planned to run at 400 kilometers per hour, but was originally designed for a speed of 450 kilometers per hour. It will be put into operation in 2027 on the 292 kilometers long second Chengdu-Chongqing high-speed railway, which is expected to be completed by then, where it can reach its planned maximum operating speed of 400 kilometers per hour and shorten the travel time between the two cities to less than 50 minutes.
There we go. All right, automobile travel. How many of y'all like to do road trips? Why do you like to do road trips? Scenery, good. Because on the ground. Okay. That's a good answer. That's a good reason. Anybody else? Buc-ee's. Yeah, you're not gonna get Buc-ee's up in the sky. Right? Did y'all see that the very first Buc-ee's that's not in a gas station where it opened? A&M campus in College Station. The Aggies have their own Buc-ee's on campus. What's that? It's not a gas station. Nope. Aggie, A&M in College Station at the University of A&M. They have their own Buc-ee's on the campus. I don't think we're going to get a Buc-ee's at St. Philip's College. Sorry, guys. It just opened this semester. Yeah, this is the first time. Yep. Why else do you travel by car? Convenience. It's comfortable. Good. A little bit more control over tends to be a little bit cheaper. Absolutely. So these are some examples of places that I visited. The top left is a waterfall in North Carolina. The middle top one, I think, is I would say the Grand Canyon. I think it's the Grand Canyon, but I don't think I did that. But I did the slideshow. I would say maybe Badlands National Park would be my guess for there. Cape Cod is the next one. That's the National Seashore, Massachusetts. That's like the little arm that goes up from Massachusetts. The middle one is the top of New Hampshire in 2021 when I was up there, or 22, sorry, 22. That is 6,800 feet. I drove to the top. And supposedly you could see Maine in those mountains. That's how far you could see. And then the other one I think is some hiking picture. I don't know where that picture is from that I took where I was hiking. But yeah, I like to travel by automobile because I like to just drive. I like to, oh, there's a sign that looks interesting. Let me stop and see what that's all about. So did y'all know that the different coloration for the signs on the roads mean a certain piece of information or a certain type of place? Okay, so what does a blue sign mean? Okay, so possibly hospitals is services. So gas stations, food. You'll see the background of that sign is blue. What does a green sign mean? Like the exit sign that has the street name. It's a directional sign. Okay, so that if it's green, it's directional. What does the brown sign mean? What's that? Historic or a point of interest. Yeah, so a lot of times they'll be like historical sites, state parks, but they're also just points of interest. So you'll see that brown sign. It's like, oh, but here's a little tip for those of you who have not been on road trips. Use your phone and figure out how far that is, because it'll say, take this exit to George Washington's home. And then 2 hours later, you're still driving to George Washington's home. So I always, when I see the sign, I always do a quick map search. And if it's more than 45 minutes out of my way, I'm like, nope, I can't do it. I just got to keep going. Because sometimes it's like, yeah, take this exit. And then you can get there eventually. So yeah. My truck in this picture with the Cape Cod, my truck just this weekend rolled over 375,000 miles. That's when I had it pretty much brand new back in 07 or 08. And then my car just hit over 100,000 miles this year as well. So I like to drive. Yeah. When I went to Arizona for a week of school back in March, I rented a car because I was like, I'm not putting that mileage on my car. I agree. All right, bus travel. Same thing. Up in New England area, there's a lot of buses. So they actually have different bus lines. We have the Peter Pan bus line. It's the green one. The Mega Bus is the blue one. There's a red one. I don't remember what it's called. But what's that? Red coach. Okay. And then Greyhound, of course. We have the Greyhound buses. Okay. So bus travel can be usually a little bit more cost effective. It is also kind of nice because somebody else is driving. So if you have the time, somebody else is driving. Has anybody done the Megabus before? Anybody on the Megabus? No? I did the Megabus when I was in Scotland, so they have them all over the world. I did the Megabus when I was in Scotland. But in 2014, when I graduated from A&M San Antonio, I gave myself a graduation trip to go visit my friend in Boston. She was over studying. So I went from San Antonio to New Orleans, to Memphis, to Chicago, to New York City, to DC, to Boston, to Durham, North Carolina. I think Philadelphia was somewhere on that. And then I did Atlanta, Orlando, and then Orlando to Miami. That was like my major legs. And then I was supposed to do from Miami to Orlando to Atlanta to Dallas to home. I just could not get back on a bus. That took 3 weeks. That was a 3-week road trip. Okay. I just could not do it. So I rented a car in Fort Lauderdale and drove 24 hours home because I just could not get back on a bus. But that whole bus trip cost me $250. So it's pretty affordable way to travel on the Megabus. All right, promoters of tourism. How many of y'all knew prior to reading the chapter that there is literally companies are literally their whole business, their job is to promote tourism to a city, like Visit San Antonio. That's our destination management organizations, our DMOs. Okay, their whole reason is to promote tourism to San Antonio. Not only visitors for conventions, but also visitors for leisure and then major events. So anytime like somebody's coming in to see if San Antonio is a good spot for a convention, Visit San Antonio. The sales team is part of that visit. And then even now, one of my friends, she works for the destination experience team, which basically means they're the ones who help people put on their conferences. So like if they're in Dayton, Ohio this year and they're coming to San Antonio next year, her job is to go to their convention this year, set up a booth that says San Antonio and promote the fact that they're coming to San Antonio next year because they want to build the attendance at the meeting. And so Visit San Antonio, a lot of places have changed their name to Visit and then fill in the blank. Visit Dallas, Visit Houston, Visit Miami. They used to be called, and they still are, Convention and Visitors Bureaus, but people don't really think about going to a Convention and Visitors Bureau website. They think about going to Visit San Antonio. That's what they're going to do. They're going to visit. All right, so we are going to do a group assignment. There is 25 of us, so there's going to be one group of 3. And you are going to work with your partner, and you're going to create an itinerary for 4 days and 3 nights to the destination of your choosing. Okay. So let me show you in Canvas. In the week 3 module, this is where you're going to turn your assignment in. This is the chapter 2 in-class travel planning assignment. Okay. So you're going to plan a 4-day, 3-night trip. You have to travel from San Antonio to any destination of your choosing. Okay. And I want you to apply the different concepts of tourism that we talked about in class today. So lodging, the transportation of how you're going to get there, what you're going to do while you are there. Okay. I would like you to download this Excel spreadsheet. Let me open it up so you can see and I can walk you through it. So in this Excel spreadsheet that's in the directions of the assignment, so you and your partner are going to turn in the exact same thing. Okay, you're going to work on it together. So you're going to type in your destination in this first highlighted box where it says destination. The number of people, bless you, the number of people on your trip. It could be a group of 2, it could be a group of 4, it could be a family of 6, it could be a group of work friends, it could be your classmates. You're all going to graduate together and you're all going to go to Paris and eat amazing French food, whatever you're going to do. Okay. So you can decide how many people your trip is going to be for. Okay. And then we have transportation and lodging. So this will be for the entire 3 nights. And then your food on the day 1. Day 2, you're going to think about some attractions you want to go to, and then also think about your food. Okay. Think about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Maybe you're going to stay at a hotel like the Hampton Inn that gives you complimentary breakfast. That's going to help save some money on your trip. Okay. And then transportation, if you have any other things that you want to go to on day 3, different attractions you're going to go to, shopping, food, and then on your departure day, any food and or other expenses like transportation. So in this description box, you're going to actually type in the description of what the item is, the estimated cost. Okay. As you start typing information in here, you'll notice that the spreadsheet is going to start calculating. Okay. You cannot click here. You cannot click here. Those are my formulas. They are protected. You cannot change them. Okay. But anywhere else you can type in. Okay. It's just that column, because I want you to see, as you're doing this, I want you to see the percentage of your budget that is spent on airfare, percentage of your budget that's spent on lodging, and food, etc. Okay. I also, the reason why we're doing this, you have no budget. Okay. You can go crazy if you want to. But I also want you to think about the fact that when people are traveling, and I'm sure you know this, but travel is expensive, or it can be expensive. Think about that when people are coming to San Antonio. If you're working in a service industry related position and you're working with people, whether it's someone who's a visitor or someone who's a local, right? They've saved money to come spend at your tourist destination, your tourist business. And so maybe families have saved months or a year in advance to say, we're going to go to San Antonio during spring break. We're going to do Six Flags, we're going to do SeaWorld. And so when they come here, we want to make sure we're following those steps of service that Disney outlined in chapter 1 and how that can have an impact, right? And think about that multiplier effect of how much people are spending. So over here in the last column, if you have make any notes that you want to make about that particular item, you can definitely do that over here. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? No. So this is going to be due on Monday next week at 8 a.m. like normal.